Hello students, this is your teacher Kulma Pradhan. So in this video, today we are going to learn the lesson going to buy a book from your English textbook unit 8. Let's get started. Going to buy a book. So children, in this lesson, the writer, who is a lady, who is a woman, who has narrated here her childhood experience when she was very small, like your age. She and her brother loved to read the books. So, her name was Rukmini Banerjee. In her childhood, she used to read many books. She and her brother were fond of books. They were fond of reading. So, let us see. One day, grandfather gave my brother and me some money. Go and buy books, he said. We were both very happy. We both loved to read. So, the writer is saying, one day her grandfather gave her and her brother some money and he asked them to go to the bookshop and buy books. So, this is the picture of bookshop. They were very happy. They both were very happy because they love reading. They like to read books. Should we go now? Should we go later? Should we go today? Should we go tomorrow? We decided to go right now. So they were restless after getting the money. Both of them, they were asking each other, what shall we do? Shall we go now? Or shall we go later? Or shall we go today? Or shall we go tomorrow? They were discussing between themselves. So, but they have decided, no, we have to go right now. So, they moved, they went to. So, after that, they rushed towards the bookshop. Should we go to the big market? Should we go to the small shop? Should we go with somebody? Should we go alone? We decided to go to the small shop, just the two of us. So again they were confused, both the brother and sister, they were confused. When they reached to the market, they confused where to go. Means they were asking each other, where shall we go? Shall we go to the big market? Shall we go to the small shop? Shall we go with somebody? Means shall we go alone, or we can take help of some other elders? Then both of them, brother and sister, they decided to go to the small shop. Just two of them. They did not ask the company of anybody. They both of them, brother and sister, they rushed towards the small shop. We like the small bookshop. It is small but it has many books. The man in the shop like us. He always help us. So when they reached to the bookshop, they like the small bookshop. Means there was a small bookshop. It was very beautiful. Means there were many books. That is why. And there were different types of book, story book, colorful book, because they were very small. So they like picture book and story books. So there were many books. So they love small bookshop. The man in the shop also, the in charge of that shop, the person who sells book, also like them. He was very helpful. So they like them. And should I buy a book with a lot of pictures? Should I buy a book with lot of stories? Should I buy a thin book? I could not decide. So again, when they reached to the bookshop, they got confused. They were confused. She was thinking, what kind of book shall I buy? Shall I buy a picture book? Shall I buy a story book? Shall I buy a thick book? Shall I buy a thin book? So there also she got confused to choose the book. We did not know which book to buy. The man in the shop smiled at us. Relax, come with me, he said. These books are about animals. Those are about machines. Those over there are about wars. Take what you want. The writer is saying they got confused which book to buy. At that time, the shopkeeper was observing them and he smiled at them because they were confused. They were excited too. He was observing them and he smiled at them. Then he called them, said, relax children, I will help you to find the book. So he started narrating about the book. He started telling about the book. He was showing the books of animal. He was showing the books of and about war and many more. So he was showing them. They were shown different types of books by the shopkeeper. by the bookseller. I picked some books, my brother picked some books. I sat on the floor, he sat on the chair, and we read and we read and we read. So, the writer has picked one book, her brother also picked another book. Her brother sat on the chair and she sat on the floor, and they started reading. They read and read. So they read continuously. We read and we read and we read. Means they read those books continuously. It was very quiet. There was no sound. 1 hour passed. 2 hours passed. Finally, we knew which books to buy. So they sat and they started reading and they read continuously. That place was very quiet. There was no sound. 1 hour has gone. 2 hours has gone. And finally, they have understood which books they have to buy or which books are good for them and which book gives them lot of knowledge or which book give them pleasure, happiness. The man in the book shop smiled at us. I got a fat book with many stories. My brother got a book with many pictures. So after that, the shopkeeper, he smiled at us when they have selected the book, when both the brother and sister, they have selected the book to buy. So the man smiled at them, the book shopkeeper smiled at them, and the writer selected a book with many stories, and her brother has selected the book with many pictures because her brother was younger than her, so he chose small picture book, and she was elder, so she chose storybooks. We ran home to our grandfather. We climbed on his bed. He put his arms around us, and then we read and read and read. So after that, they reached home. They purchased the books and they reached home. They ran towards grandfather. They thanks grandfather for giving them money, and they climbed on his bed. And then he put his arm around us. They went near him, and their grandfather loved them. And they sat near him and they read and read. 3 of them, they read and read until the story of the book ended. So this is the end of the lesson. I hope you have understood that the children of the story, there were 2 children. One is the writer herself when she was young like your age. So she was fond of books. She loved to read book, and that is why she has narrated her story in this lesson. So that you also, my dear children, you also try to read the book whenever you go to market, whenever you see bookshop. Ask your parents, approach your parents to buy books for you. When you buy any book, read the book and tell stories to your family members, to your grandfather, to your brothers, to your sister, to your friend. So children, I hope you have understood the lesson going to buy a book. So let us see new words. Alone, bookshop, machines, finally climb. And this story is written by this Rukmini Banerjee.